Let's turn our attention to the politics the other side of the Atlantic. Donald Trump, former president and Republican nominee, has told a crowd of Christians that they won't have to vote again if they vote for him in November, saying, "We'll have it fixed so good." The former president, who faces federal and state prosecution for his alleged attempts to overturn the US election in 2020, was attending an event organised by the conservative group Turning Point Action in Florida. It's not entirely clear what he meant by those remarks. He also doubled down on mispronouncing Vice President Kamala Harris's name. Well, it comes as Trump's running mate JD Vance has defended comments he made in an interview with Fox News in 2021, where he said, "We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too." This is what he told the American broadcaster Megyn Kelly. Well, Mary Anna Mancuso is an American political analyst and a former Democratic advisor and joins us now. Hello, Mary Anna.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Great to have you with us. Those remarks from JD Vance, apparently refusing to back away from his previous comments, have provoked quite a backlash within the Democratic movement and from some of its celebrity backers. How do you think they're going to affect this presidential race?
Well, I can tell you right now from a Republican standpoint, Republicans are already having heartburn over JD Vance as a vice presidential pick for Trump in 2024. And the Republicans are now feeling a little lukewarm. And as a result, they're trying to find other ways to attack the Democratic nominee, presumptive nominee, Kamala Harris, who's now running for president, and trying to turn the attention on her versus paying attention to JD Vance.
And we've heard Donald Trump also launching some very personal attacks on Kamala Harris and some pretty outspoken language.
Yes, no, Donald Trump right now is what you see what happening is he's beginning to spiral is he's trying to figure out what the campaign strategy is to beat her. He thought that they had it locked and loaded when they were going to be going against President Joe Biden in a reelection effort for Biden. And then when Biden stepped aside last weekend, now the Trump team is like, what do we do? And so you're starting to see him try different things. Like he sent out an email this morning saying that Kamala hates the police. Then he's talking about her being a liar. He's refusing to say her first name correctly. So he's really trying a bunch of different things to see what sticks with his base.
But Kamala Harris has come in for a lot of pretty widespread criticism for her failure to get a grip on the migrant crisis on America's southern border. And that is an important issue. It's certainly an issue that Donald Trump and JD Vance raise all of the time. Do you think that could count against her in some of those key states?
I think that it's definitely something that's going to need to be addressed, but I think it's important to also note that Republicans had a possibility to go and pass sweeping immigration laws in Congress, and they actually tamped back and said that they wouldn't. And I think that that's important to shine a light where the Republicans are failing on immigration, but it's going to be required of the Democrats to do those things. And sometimes we see the Democrats are a little shy when it comes to pushing back on the narrative. And so that's why they're trying to run, they should be running an offense, but they're wanting to run a defense instead because it's more comfortable.
It does seem as though Kamala Harris, of course, replacing Joe Biden after he decided to pull out of his bid for another term in the White House. Kamala does seem to have reinvigorated the Democratic movement. But is there a risk that she doesn't have what it takes to reach out to some of those swing voters and to get the voters out in, as I say, those key swing states, which, as I'm sure you know better than I do, places like Pennsylvania, which the Democrats really need to win if they're going to try to hold on to the White House?
Absolutely. Look, at all times in American politics, we've always said that the vice presidential pick isn't really a determinant factor. I don't think it'll be a determinant factor in this election. However, it will give her a bump in the initial who she picks. And right now we know on her shortlist, she's looking at Governor Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, and she's looking at Senator Mark Kelly out of Arizona. And it'll be interesting to see because Arizona, Pennsylvania, as well as Governor Roy Cooper out of North Carolina, those are three battleground states. And we know that in 2020, The Republicans won in North Carolina, and the Democrats really should be doubling down in North Carolina. So we'll be interested to see who is she going to pick that's going to help consolidate that. And I think it's also important to note here that she had a record-breaking $200 million raised in the first week of her candidacy after President Biden stepped aside and gave an endorsement. And it's also, this is really fascinating, 66% of those donations were first-time donors. So there's a lot of momentum and excitement around her candidacy, and it will be interesting to see if she can maintain that for 99 days until the election.
And so, who do you think she should choose as her running mate? Do you think that she does need a male candidate for vice president and someone from one of those key swing states?
Absolutely. Look, if I'm advising the Kamala Harris campaign, I'm encouraging her to really look at Senator Mark Kelly out of Arizona. Look, it's currently the governor in Arizona is a Democrat, so they're not going to lose the seat should they win. He would then appoint a senator to fill and finish out Mark Kelly's term. Mark Kelly would then be able to bring in those other states. But it's really going to be incumbent upon her getting out there campaigning. And it's also important here that Senator Mark Kelly has a good foreign policy knowledge, and that would really round her out as a candidate.
And how do you think that she should be approaching Donald Trump? She's already seems to have indicated that she's prepared to go into that presidential debate that was already slotted in by her predecessor, Joe Biden, as the Democratic nominee. How should she approach Donald Trump?
Yeah, look, she's already starting to position herself. She's looking at the debate in September and she's saying, I'm a prosecutor. I've dealt with felons before. This isn't my first rodeo. This is what we're going to do. And so she's really using the prosecutor angle in her time in California as a way that she'll be handling him. Because let's face it, Donald Trump has 34 convicted felonies, and there are more coming down the pike as he has other court cases pending. And so that is really the angle that she's going after him. And she is just continuing bringing him to task on that and shining a light on the fact he is a convicted felon and she has dealt with them before as a prosecutor.
Mary Anna Mancuso, former Democratic advisor, now a political analyst in the US. Thanks so much for joining us.
Men and women of our country will be the ones shaping America's magnificent future when I am the 47th President of the United States. Because we are all Americans, and together we will show November 5th to be the most important day in the history of America. It will be the most important day in our history as a country. We are one movement.